Hello everyone, Calina here of StoryRetold, continuing with Arglefumph's Everything Wrong with the Nancy Drew Games, my reaction to Sea of Darkness. So if you haven't watched Arglefumph's Everything Wrong With series, the link to his playlist is down in the description below. Head over there and give him a thumbs up if you find his videos entertaining. Here we go. The audio is really quiet. There are spoilers for the game. Heads up.
Mentions roommates in the tutorial, but in the game he only has one roommate.
That comes into audio. The other person might not be there.
When Ned's roommate said they like care packages, Ned assumed they meant sending packages, not getting them. Ned is an idiot.
Excuse me, giant human person, but you seem to be pretty nosy.
I have nothing to hide. I'm innocent.
Mr. Wooglewaggle's voice has changed.
Yeah. But Lonnie did re-record for the later one, so later tutorial.
A big crowd is gathered to watch the ship come into harbor, yet nobody can be seen standing on the docks.
They're
Nancy
behind
follows
camera.
A scavenger hunt to fabulous treasure cliché.
He says it with such forlorn, despairing. What's the word? I don't know.
Nancy got this job because of her sleuthing with Moira. But Nancy didn't do any sleuthing with Moira. Nancy did all the work while Moira stayed at home. How does Dagny know Moira?
That's a good question. We don't really know, do we?
Phew, finally made it to town. Oh, it's freezing out here.
Nancy is surprised that it is cold in Iceland.
Surprised?
Nancy is an idiot.
Or just commenting?
Hi there. Are you Miss Silva?
How did Nancy recognize Dagny? Dagny didn't describe what she looks like or where she'd be.
But it's always worth an ask.
The first 3 minutes of the game is Dagny repeating all the information that was in her opening letter.
Yeah.
You know what sailors don't do?
I've known people who reiterate themselves many times, even though we clearly know that they've said it in real life. This is a characteristic.
That's not true.
Time in the biz, a girl knows when she's being backstabbed.
That's also not true. How many times has Nancy been fooled by culprits?
Nancy is not in business, though. She has been backstabbed, but she doesn't always see it coming, even though she is a detective. So, this is referring to business people.
Elisabet controls the ship. She removed the gangway.
Did she give you a reason?
Oh, something about her family line and ancient blood feuds and...
Apparently, Dagny worked on the ship for 2 years without learning it belongs to Elisabet's family.
Without knowing? Well...
Took 32 games before her interactive added the automatically end conversations feature. The snowmobiles may cause minor death or major death. What's the difference between the two?
I actually love that the artists had a little humor added to that as a little bonus for people who actually read.
This puzzle is difficult and it serves little purpose.
Little purpose, yes, but it does serve a purpose. It's supposed to... It is a totally skippable puzzle, but it's supposed to get you a little familiar about what all the different sails are called, because you need to know it for a puzzle or an activity in on the ship.
Soren's sweater.
What's wrong with it?
Could you finish setting up the knots display?
Nancy does everyone else's chores cliché.
Yeah.
I do it myself, but I don't have the time.
You do.
How does Soren not have the time to fix this display? He doesn't do anything.
Fair point.
The schedule of events is pretty useless. It doesn't say when any of the events are.
When? I mean, there's times here for the competitions. Right here. Are we looking someplace else? There's the rules. Am I missing something? Because the times are right here.
You can use Easter eggs to buy items in the gift shop, but not the vocabulary book or batteries.
Or the sword.
The Easter eggs spoil which items are important to the game. Soren tells Elisabet to lower the gangway for Nancy. How? Soren doesn't leave the cultural center, and he doesn't call her on his phone.
Possibly text her.
Show them I'm a political force to be reckoned with.
Nancy is a tourist. I don't think her signing this petition is going to help.
I like to give people some
It's still nice to be supportive.
personal space.
Since when?
Since the people are still there. Nancy likes to snoop when people are gone.
I have a space bubble. You're violating it.
Dagny is a jerk.
She is.
Hey, Elisabet, may I borrow a snowmobile key?
Depends. Are you going to steal it?
The snowmobiles are stolen regularly, yet Elisabet doesn't label them or make people fill out registration paperwork first.
Magnus seems pretty insistent over this langspil thing.
How did Magnus know there was a gear hidden in the langspil?
Rope?
I don't know.
Oh, these aren't just supplies. This is everything you'd need to kidnap a full-grown man.
The culprit left their kidnapping supplies on the ship. Nancy doesn't investigate this angle at all.
What would be the best way to investigate this? I mean, she's still looking for Magnus.
In fact, Nancy completely ignores the kidnapping mystery in favor of finding the hidden treasure.
Yeah, I know. I didn't like that sort of, throttling for the player to investigate treasure instead of your main mission, which is to find Magnus. But Dagny says it at the very start of the game when you first talk to her. She says the way to find Magnus is to find the treasure. So it was emphasized there.
Dagny left this note in a random barrel on the ship. Why?
I don't
How
know.
did she get on the ship? Elisabet hides the gangplank whenever Dagny approaches.
Well, if she's been working on the ship for 2 years, then she would have had an opportunity to be on the ship at some point.
This is what, the 9th game where Nancy finds a book explaining how musical notes work?
Yes.
She should have the musical scale memorized at this point.
Nancy should, yes, but the players... I'm going to give the players a hard time for not memorizing it, because the games are self-contained, where they got information for people who have not played the other Nancy Drew games. They can still learn musical notes in order to solve a puzzle within that same game. So that's why they always show up, these books.
Reason you didn't like him?
He was too tall.
The largest man in town complains about someone else being too tall.
Well, his whole point right here is too tall, too poetic, too crying to your guitar and mourn for the sea, always quiet, always thinking too soft, beard too short, coat too long, eyelashes too full. So his description of Magnus is pretty much to say, like, he's an ideal look. He is like a millennial. He is he's too image-based, too stylistic, too, I don't know, you name it in the comments down below. He just didn't like him.
Too soft. Beard too short.
Magnus doesn't have a beard. The pub
Maybe
in
he
Iceland
shaved.
gives free money to anyone who knows Icelandic.
Yes.
How does this pub afford to stay in business?
That's
Why
fair.
aren't the natives playing this game non-stop? It's free money!
I know, right?
Nancy goes to a foreign country without bringing any money with her.
Well, maybe she has money, she just hasn't converted it over to kroner instead of US dollars, which she might have.
I probably shouldn't be back there.
Nancy won't go into the kitchen without being invited, but
Yeah.
she'll go into the employees-only area without being invited. Who is watching
Yeah, that's
the ship
inconsistent.
while Elisabet comes here to talk to Gunnar?
Nobody.
Why does Elisabet have one of the tokens here?
She might have found it.
The game mistakenly assumes I care about aliens.
Yeah, but this was a bonus thing. This was for the bonus edition of the game. Sunny June notes were thrown in here for fun.
Mel Corblish joined an Icelandic music group.
Yeah,
I guess she didn't get the big scholarship from Waverly Academy.
maybe she's on break and touring with her band.
Find the difference puzzle reused from previous games.
Yes and no. Find the difference puzzle is a style of puzzle, but this artwork is very unique to this game. It hasn't been used in the other games.
You're eating and logged in here for free, just
Really?
like me.
How does Elisabet stay in business if she regularly rents rooms for free?
Well, I think for Magnus, he's supposed to be working for her, so that's the trade-off, right? And, Dagny might be paying for Nancy.
Dagny spends all of her time outside of an inn, but she set Nancy up to stay somewhere else. This puzzle desperately wishes it could be the bento box puzzle from Shadow at the Water's Edge.
Our anniversary today. We had reservations for dinner, remember?
Nancy forgot about her anniversary? Nancy's a horrible girlfriend.
I agree.
Owe you a serious apology. I'm sorry.
It's all right, Nan.
Where was this understanding Ned in the captive curse?
Right?
Oh, for the love of... I was born 10 miles away!
In Iceland, they use the metric system.
Yes, but Soren also went to school in the US. So if he sounds more American and speaks more American, that's why.
Maybe the natives hate you so much because you spend all your time complaining about them.
Maybe.
Did you think of that, Soren?
Right?
Soren's pamphlet about dinghies has a full page devoted to hooks.
Yep.
That has nothing to do with dinghies.
I know.
The Pamphlet Lover's Journal rated them a 9-star out of 10.
How did this pamphlet get 9 stars out of 10? It's not that good.
Aww.
Stays locked up in that pub of his.
It's Elisabet's pub, not Gunnar's.
Yeah, he pretty much, acts like he owns the place. He does whatever he wants.
Lawrence and his wife died when their child was a baby. How did she learn the family song so it could get passed down to Elisabet?
Probably from the others.
Lawrence left behind the diary for his child. When did it get ripped up into multiple pieces and scattered all over town?
That's a good
Who
question.
ripped up the diary pieces and hid them?
Yeah, that's fair.
Why did they do this?
In that darkness, the people of Skipbrot struggled to survive.
Skiprot means shipwreck. According to the video, the town had its name before the Hirlakide crashed.
Yeah.
So it's just a coincidence that a ship wrecked in a town named Shipwreck.
Yep.
It's dark out there, and I don't have a map.
Nancy doesn't need a map in order to use this dinghy. Why does Dagny have the radio key if she can't use the radio?
It's her ship.
Why can't Dagny use the radio? All you have to do is insert the key and turn it. It's not that complicated.
Why would she want to?
If Dagny knows how to fix the heater, why doesn't she do it herself?
Because, like any business person, they figure out a way to hire someone else to do the dirty work. I mean, that's not true for all kinds, but, I mean, you issue out the work according to people's skill sets, and that is wise. So if Nancy can solve puzzles, she's hired the right person to do this task.
That was the strangest wiring panel I've ever seen.
I thought the one in Shattered Medallion was weirder.
That's fair.
It's hard to concentrate on this puzzle when Dagny is talking at you the whole time.
I agree.
It's your jam. Witness protection program? Arch nemesis?
None of those.
What about Dwayne Powers?
Are you an open book with every stranger who crosses your path?
Well, no. I guess I don't like to talk about myself much either.
Nancy never talks about herself. I guess the silent spy doesn't count.
That was personal.
Is mine, and everything on it. My great-great-great-great-grandfather was the original captain.
Elisabet says she is 6 generations removed from Lawrence, when the video claims it was 5.
Good catch.
Has anyone checked Magnus's cabin?
Soren won't let anyone up there.
Soren doesn't stop Nancy from visiting Magnus's cabin.
Maybe it's because he likes her. No one else likes Soren.
Pulling into Skipbrot Harbor, I heard a voice on board,
Soren kidnapped Magnus minutes before the ship came into harbor, even though he knew the harbor would be full of festival goers who specifically came to see the ship arrive.
Yeah.
Alex heard Magnus get kidnapped and told no one about it. Alex is a terrible person.
She was afraid.
Alex's excuse for not alerting the authorities is that she didn't want to get in trouble for not filling out her logs.
Yeah.
Why didn't she fill out the logs immediately, then contact the authorities?
Right.
People who rarely speaks, but when they do, the hours I spent listening to that guy alternatively complain about her and pine for her.
Alex says Magnus never talked, and he talked too much about Elisabet.
Oh, talk too much and then never talk. That does look like a writing inconsistency, yes.
Bottles up thoughts and distills them.
Oh, interesting.
But it can all be boiled down to 2 words. Sailor feelings.
Oh, interesting.
Game uses a voice clip twice in the same conversation.
Sure, yeah.
It's too high to reach at low tide.
Why doesn't the lighthouse have a ladder? The
Yeah, I don't
dinghy
know.
belonged to Soren. He never mentions the fact that somebody repaired and used it without his permission.
Maybe he hasn't gone back to it
Nancy
yet.
finds Magnus's cabin without a map or directions.
There is a footpath, I think.
Nancy leaves the key in the snowmobile. Even though she's been warned, they often get stolen.
Yeah, she
Who's
was
watching
trusting.
the pub when Gunnar and Elisabet are gone?
Good
I
question.
need to figure out the rules being used in each row here.
The
Yeah.
game makes it seem like you have to do something to figure out the rules when you don't.
Yeah, the point is that it's hard to figure out how to give directions for that puzzle when all you have to do is figure out what the pattern needs to be or what the information needs to be.
There's an international bear smuggling ring? Why isn't Nancy solving that mystery?
No one's asked her to.
Magnus knows someone has been reading his journal, and it is no longer secure. He writes this information in the unsecure journal, thereby letting the culprit know that they've been exposed. Magnus is an idiot.
Yeah, yep.
According to the journal, Magnus never found the second half of the locator, even though he found and hid 9 of the 10 pieces that lead to it.
Oh.
Who carved the 86 on the mainmast? The original crow's nest is outside of Soren's.
Yeah,
Magnus was in the middle
Good
of solving
question.
this.
I don't know the answer to
Clearly,
that.
he wasn't in the middle of solving this puzzle because no progress has been made on it. Nancy should know Magnus wasn't in the middle of solving this puzzle because he says so in his notes that she just read.
Okay,
This
okay.
puzzle. Nancy leaves the pins in the map for any potential culprit to read. Nancy is an idiot.
That's not
This
an
puzzle.
answer. Oh, no, I love that
Why
puzzle.
does the lighthouse let people open the windows remotely? Soren tries to kill Nancy multiple times, even though he needs her alive to find the hidden treasure. How did Soren know Nancy was the one who fixed the lighthouse? It's too far away for him to see who's inside.
It's possible there are telescopes or binoculars. But yeah, I mean, if Soren doesn't want Nancy to find the treasure, it's possible that he just wants Magnus to find it for him. It's complicated.
Big number at the top. It looks like the pieces add to the total of the piece above them.
You can't tell that just by looking at the pieces.
No, you can't. So that's why we have Nancy saying this to give the player instruction on how to solve it.
Elisabet has the keys to Magnus's house, but not her own house.
It might be in her pockets.
Nancy ignores the fact that Magnus has a Nancy Drew cosplayer picture. How did Magnus learn the crow's nest puzzle solution?
It's possible he found other research to indicate to these clues.
I think I found something big. I want to show it to you. I stashed it in my bag for now, but
What did Dagny find that she wanted to show Magnus? When Nancy opens Dagny's luggage, all it has are the picture pieces that he gave her. Why did Magnus and Dagny write notes to each other in addition to their text messages? Nancy finds a hidden passageway cliché.
Yes.
Soren told me he
We like
was
those
manning the
cliches.
sound system on the morning the Hirlichide crashed.
What? But that's not possible. There was no sound that day.
Sounds like we've got an alibi that doesn't quite match up.
Nancy doesn't follow up on this.
Okay.
Hey, Soren, I just saw someone take a sweater from the gift shop.
Soren believes this, even though literally no one else has been in the gift shop since Nancy arrived.
Yeah, low animation.
Have you always lived here?
For 12 years in total now. 2 before university, 10 after.
Soren says he's been in town 10 years after university. So that means half the messages on his computer are a decade old.
Are you sure? I'd have to read these again, but it's possible that these messages were written during the past decade. Like, during the time, not when he was there.
What is this text about a dock pylon in reference to?
The text, the dock pylon? It's the number that you see underneath the barnacles on the pylon.
Magnus's text says he lost 3 of his picture pieces bags. What is found attached to the top of the mast? That seems more like deliberately hidden than accidentally lost.
Yeah, that's
Nancy
fair.
can't find the picture pieces in the ice caves without seeing the ice caves pictures in Magnus's house.
Right.
So he has a clue to the location of the puzzle pieces.
Yep.
At the same time, he doesn't know where they are.
Yeah, it's possible he's been to these spots before and then left, leaving stuff behind accidentally. I know, it's a bit far-fetched, but it's possible.
Magnus discussed several things with Dagny, but Dagny doesn't pass this information on to Nancy.
Yeah.
Even though it would greatly help Nancy's investigation.
True.
Looking back on all the times we spent together,
But Nancy and Ned have never spent any time together.
Yeah, there are a few instances where there's like some follow-up information in between games that they spent time together, including, well, Alibi and Ashes for one. They did play that challenge.
She's hung out with Bess and George a few times, but she's never hung out with Ned. According to the Tides, this game takes place over several days. According to Ned's phone conversations, it takes place over 1 day.
Oh, well.
times you almost got seriously hurt. Like that one time you almost burned to death.
Which one?
He's being generic. I mean, it's possible Nancy didn't tell him about every burning situation before. Ghost of Thornton Hall was a recent one. Alibi in Ashes is another.
Or that one thing with that mansion on fire?
Which one?
Message in a Haunted Mansion or Ghost of Thornton Hall. That is true. They both had fires.
Bert is in the game, but there's not a single reference to the fact that Bert is George's boyfriend.
Depends on which book you are reading. This is the first time in the game series that it mentions... that it mentions Bert. However, in the books, it says that Bert is George's favorite date. It's not a promised boyfriend. Unless I'm wrong and I missed something from like the other series, like the Files series or Campus series, because I haven't read all of them.
You dropped this in the hold.
Where did Soren get this?
Good question. I don't know.
The motor off the deck, but I wanted to make sure you were safe first.
You know, that gear might be what Dagny found and then gave to Magnus, and then Soren took it from Magnus.
Elisabet heard Soren's motor when he left, but not as he approached.
My glove! I lost it. Haha! When I was trying to carry a bit of wood down from the hills.
Nancy falls for this obvious lie.
She looks like me.
Game teases us with a picture of a person who looks like Nancy.
Yeah.
The entire article has justified margins, except the bottom of the left column. I'm sorry, Nancy did not need Gunnar's pieces to see that this is a picture of a star. The notes Elisabet sings aren't the same notes played by the music box.
So the music box would be the original tune, right? But Elisabet's grand performance could easily be stylistic or creatively, stylistically, changed up a little bit. It happens in music.
How did Elisabet keep the dog hidden without anyone noticing?
Only a few people are allowed on the ship.
Someone should have heard the dog bark at some point.
Though there's a lot of wind, it's possible they didn't.
He didn't notice or hear Nancy going up the very loud lighthouse stairs, even though she comes up right behind her.
Say we talk this over down in the port, next to the heater.
Didn't you break the heater as part of your fake abduction, Dagny?
Yeah.
Can't you go inside?
I keep asking people to fix this broken heater so I can watch over my ship. You know.
Dagny says she won't go inside because she wants to watch the ship at all times. Then she pretends to abduct herself. Why did she stop wanting to watch the ship at all times?
Because she explains that she wanted it to look like she was kidnapped, as a way to go investigate some treasure-related stuff on her own without being bothered. Which doesn't make sense if she wants to not be found. If she doesn't want to be found, just leave your post and make it look not suspicious. I don't know.
I needed some time to crack the case without anyone catching on to me.
If Dagny wants to crack this case by herself, why did she hire Nancy?
She needs help.
This puzzle. Sudoku puzzle reused from previous games.
Not this one specifically. This one is with triangles, and it's a little bit different. But yes, the Sudoku style of the Sudoku genre, really, is used quite a few times in the games.
Sudoku puzzle reused from this game.
It's not the same Sudoku type of puzzle. This is one of the every row and column needs to have something.
These puzzles are in perfect working condition, despite not having been used in over 200 years.
Yeah,
the people who restored the ship to working conditions somehow failed to notice the secret passageway.
Yeah.
If Nancy tries breaking this wall too early, it's a game over sequence.
Yeah, it wants to force player in order to accomplish a few things before reaching the end of the game.
Why does the wall magically become breakable once she gets the diary? Why didn't Magnus make any noise when Nancy was in the caves earlier? Does he not want to be rescued?
Maybe he didn't hear her and know to yell for help or anything?
Why didn't Magnus break the ice wall himself? He's not tied up.
He is.
The wall is not as thick as the one Magnus destroys with a single blow.
That's a different wall.
You can't get here without climbing up a ladder. How did Soren get Magnus's unconscious body up a ladder by himself?
I mean, he's probably proficient in rock climbing, and using ropes and stuff. He could probably figure out a way.
Soren has visited Magnus several times. How? Magnus is trapped behind an ice wall.
It's possible there's another entrance.
Can Soren teleport through walls, or is there another exit? If there's another exit, why doesn't Magnus use it to escape?
Good question.
If there's another exit, why is Soren's glove found in this exit?
Multiple ways to get out.
How has Magnus survived so long without anything to eat or drink? Did Soren bring him food?
Possibly.
How does Magnus not have severe hypothermia?
He has a nice
He's been in
outfit.
Here sitting on bare ice for several days with no heat source whatsoever.
Toasty packs.
By coincidence, Soren hides Magnus mere feet away from the treasure, but neither Soren nor Magnus find it.
Now there's a lot of ice and a lot of rocks to look through or chip through in order to find it.
He's coming back. I don't know what he's gone and done or when he's coming back.
Magnus says he knows when Soren is coming back, and he says he doesn't know when Soren is coming back.
Well, he knows he's coming back, but he's worried that he's going to come back soon. It doesn't really know. It doesn't explicitly state, so that does seem like an inconsistency.
Maybe Soren can be reasoned with.
I think he can.
Soren committed abduction, theft, and attempted murder, yet Magnus and Nancy agree that he'll be nice if they reason with him.
Maybe.
Nancy thinks Soren can be reasoned with, but she makes no attempt to reason with him. Nancy magically teleports forward so a cave-in can separate her from Magnus. Why can't Magnus leave the cave system at this point? He should be able to follow the path that Nancy took to reach him. He wrote the directions that Nancy used to get here, after all.
Sure.
Soren doesn't care if Nancy pulls out her phone here. Conveniently for Nancy, Lawrence foresaw Soren's betrayal and created a fake treasure to fool him.
He created a failsafe for anyone who might force him to reveal the treasure.
The treasure chest is brown, and now it's white.
Shading, lighting.
Where did all these boulders come from?
The roof?
Soren is great at creating cave-ins without hurting himself.
Yeah.
I must have been the first to get this far.
Gee, you think? Magnus is unable to save himself from the caves after several days, but he's able to save Nancy from the caves after a few minutes.
He found another way out.
It's yours now.
And he was tied up.
Magnus has been searching for the treasure relentlessly, yet he gives it to Nancy without a second thought.
No signal.
What happened to Nancy not getting any signal on her phone?
Cave-in
Days
before and
were
after.
No action, but I later found a note in my room at the pub.
Nancy stays in Iceland a few days, instead of going home immediately to celebrate her anniversary with Ned. Nancy is a horrible girlfriend.
Right.
Ned's anniversary gift does not have the same wrapping paper I used to wrap it.
Yeah.
Original replica Viking sword, and he's been taking it with him everywhere. To parties, to football practice, even to shower.
How does Nancy know what Ned does in the shower?
Ned probably told her.
Nancy, it's me.
Oh dear.
Deirdre. Someone really important to me is in danger.
Game expects me to believe someone else is important to Deirdre.
Oh, well, you know.
House interior reused from Secret of the Old Clock.
Good observation. That is very true. And I pointed that out to the creative director at the time. And hey, it works. Problems 156. Sentence, waiting for midnight in Salem. Oh, that's a harsh sentence.
This has to be the real treasure. It's not a myth after all. I must have been the first to get this far. This is incredible.
That was close. What should we do?
It's a danger to the town's safety.
You got it, lady. See you soon.
I think I'm calling this case closed.
Okay. All right, you guys. Comment below what your thoughts and opinions are down in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.